Good day, YouTubers. Today's video, we're going to take this old Connex CX33 TLM3. Never had any modifications or anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to explore the various tune-up methods of other places, like the what I call the truck stop swing kit, the NPC, the NPC RC, the PPE, and a few others I've seen over the years pop through my shop. Now, here are the various components laying here, and as I go through each one of them, I'll tell you what I'm doing. And we're going to look at everything on the watt meters, and we're also going to explore it on the scope. So right now, just to give you a heads up, I also got my infrared thermometer, which I'm going to stick it on the side over here, right at this brass. That's where the AM regulator is. And some of these kits claim they keep that regulator cooler than stock, so I figured what's the best test is to start with a stock radio. Excuse me. Alright, here we go. I'm going to start off with a stock radio. Alright, well, first things first, let's turn her on. Plug in some power to it. Okay, just to give you all a little insight. As you see, the power's on. 10-watt scale. About 2.5 watts. Now, I didn't mess with anything on this, so... And then just to give you a reference on the scope, there's our carrier. Now I'm going to inject a 1 kilohertz tone into it. As you can hear it. Let's stick the little mic up here, and this is all going through the mic. So as you see, 100% modulation. Limiter's intact. Everything's in the radio. Now, let's go through the various mods. Actually, what I'm going to do is we're going to keep this on here for a second. Let her get a little good and heated up. Because, of course, it's just not going to get heated up from the first time of going on, or turning on and modulating into it. So, let's see how warm we can get this AM regulator in this radio. And then, RMS on the bird. So we go from, what, 2.5 to a little over 4. Actually, let me do this. Let's move some stuff around here for a second so we can get a better look. I'm going to change out this slug from the 100 to a 50. Get in there. Get my wires around this meter so we can get a better look. Okay, so we have the 50 in there. I'm going to change the scale on this to 50 because it was at 10. So, let's see what we got for PEP. So we're at the 50 watt scale. We're about 12 watts PEP. RMS says about 3.5. So we go from 2.5 to 3.5. So 1 watt of bird's forward swing, 12 watts of peak. We've had this keyed up for a pretty good long time. Alright, let's take a temperature reading. I don't think I really had it keyed up long enough, but 78.3 or so. I mean, it feels warmer than that on the side of the radio. Actually, it's cooling down now, so. Alright, well, let me go through these various mods, and I'll explain what they are. We'll be back. Now, we're going to start with this first mod. This is one that a technician a few counties over me used to do all the time. And basically what he did is change that R238 to a 1 meg and unsoldered the limiter. Let me see if I can find the limiter. Get me a little pointer here. So right there, as you see, the limiter TR32, which is the most famous one everybody pulls out, is pulled. Okay, now I haven't made any adjustments from what we had it at earlier. My gain's wide open. We're just going to key the radio up. No noise. And look at that. And there's no tone going into it right at the moment. So, I'm sure we can fix that up with the mic gain. So let me see here. Take my other hand and we'll cruise that mic gain back some. Boy, that's the mic gain all the way off. Look at that. That's just some nasty shit there. And for shits and giggles, let's throw a little tone in there. Yeah, that's really a swing kit. And that's the mic gain off, fellas. Look, mic gain's right here. Off. One. So let's take a peek at the freaking watts now with the mic gain off. Even though it looks nasty as shit on the scope, we're a little over 30. 31, 32. And our RMS is about 4. About 4, somewhere in there. Now look at this. Just me changing them components. I didn't touch anything else in the radio. Our dead key has rose up to 4. Crazy. So, in my opinion, this is a shit job. We'll be back. Alright fellas, here's the most famous that I usually see in here most of the time, where it's a 1 in 4,000 and whatever, 1, 2, 3, or 4 diode stuck at R238. Very popular amongst the truck stops. TR32 still unsoldered. Initial dead key, you see what it looks like. Can't even set a reference carrier. My gain is still off. Okay, still off. We'll throw a little tone through it. Of course, now our dead key went from the resistor 1 meg with a diode in there now to 5. And look at this. Now we're putting the 50 peak in the corner. And we're doing about 6 RMS. And look at the scope. Our positives don't look so bad, but the negatives are shit. So that's what we got. Now I'm going to go redo this to where some of the shops will actually bridge this with the existing 5.6K resistor. And let's see if we can set the mic gain then. I'll be back. Alright, as you see now, we've got the stock resistor back in place, the 5.6 bridged with the diode, which is famous. A lot of guys do this too. Still the same thing on the scope. Mic gain's off. Dead key dropped just a little bit, maybe 4 3/4. Let's throw a little tone through it. Oh, this one needs a little bit of mic gain. Alright, look at that. 50 in the corner, 6 bird, maybe a hair under 6 bird. And look at the scope. Nasty. Negatives are shit. She's starting to flat top at the positives. Just no good there. Yeah, we're 150% positive modulation, but that's where it's going to get raspy sounding and everything because of those negatives. Let's move on. We'll be back. Okay, we're back with the next one that I see come in my shop a lot. Famous with the truck stops. Let's see if we can get a... There we go. Just a little 1 in 4148 or a 1 in 914 diode, signal diode. That's really popular too. I see come through the shop now. They also bridge that one with a 5.6. I'm not going to go through and bridge it in again with the 5.6 because we've seen what the last diode did, and I don't expect too much different with this one. So, initial key up, we've got something going on. Okay, let's throw a little tone through it. Now that actually does look a little bit better, but the negatives are still shit. So, you got some roundy positives there, but the negatives are crapola. We're not putting the 50 in the corner no more. We're about 45. And our bird's about 6. So, another crap mod. We'll be back. Alright, we're back. Now, I've gotten rid of all that hogwash truck stop crap. Soldered the limiter back in. Put the original resistor from the factory back in. I'm doing everything on the solder side of the board just to make it easier. Now we're going with the most famous of all NPC mods, the Bill Etner mod, which requires no cutting of the limiters, adjust the AMC control. I didn't touch the AMC control, I just left it where it was from factory spec, which is what I've heard is you want to leave it there. But I did do the diode to the 330 ohm resistor is what they want. So, I got rid of all the crap on the scope now. A lot of that probably had to do with the limiter being cut. Back to our little over 2 watt dead key. Let's throw a little signal into it now. As you see, we've increased to 25 watts on the PEP. We're a good 6.5 on the RMS. And we've actually increased our modulation with a good shine wave on there to about 125% positive peaks, and the negatives aren't crashing. So essentially, I would have to freaking admit that this is not a bad mod to do as long as you don't clip the limiter. Let me switch some things around. We're going to go to what old Billy Ward, the CB doctor, had done for kits for years, and his requires the limiter being out of the stage. So we'll be back.
Look.
Alright, we went back. I ain't going to change to the CB doctors just yet, because one of his mod is to clip the limiter. I really didn't clip the limiter, and I didn't go for TR32 this time. I went up here to the other limiter, which is another famous place, but I just unsoldered it. That way I can put it back in line when we are done with this radio. But I'll start there with the reference. Now mic gain's still wide open, and as you see, whew, nasty. Flat topping like you wouldn't believe. Our bird meter has now increased to 11, and our peak's putting 50 in the corner. But is that true? No, not at all. So let's readjust the mic. Whoops. It's hard to do this with one hand. So I'm going to put it about a quarter of the way open. Let's see what happens. Alright, we cleaned it up a little bit, but I'm still not happy with that. So give me a second. See if we can't. That's about the best I can see it. So as you see, we're at 40, almost 8 bird. And with the limiter clipped, that's about the cleanest I can get it. Now, I don't consider that anything. You're still at 130 or 125% positive modulation. The negative's got a little lopey thing going in there. That's not going to be clean. It's going to be kind of dirty. So, the one NPC mods where the guys say clip the limiter, plus the regulator's hot as piss right now. I don't know if I can get the, let's see if we can't get this thermal on there. I might not have been quick enough. Yeah. So, I don't have enough hands is what it is. So, needless to say, but to the touch, it was really on fire. But this is still Bill Ettner's kit, but with the limiter clipped. He suggests that you leave it in line, which I agree with. We'll be back. Alright, we're back. Now, basically, the only difference that I've seen in the writings and stuff on the web from the CB Doctor to Bill Ettner's kit is the diode that's used. Basically, Bill Ettner uses a glass diode, and the CB Doctor uses a rectifier diode. Limiter still clipped because that's what the CB Doctor says in his web stuff. I do still have the mic gain presently at a quarter of the way open. Reference. Now, I'm still not crazy about the way the negatives look, but you could probably clean that up with the mic gain. But we're definitely over 200% modulation. About 9 bird. And 50 peak. Now that's RMS peak that's on that on the CB test center. Now, so what we're going to do is I'm going to crank this mic gain up to about 3/4 of the way open. And now look at it. It's still not terribly bad. Which is kind of a shock to me. But we didn't gain any more watts by doing that with the mic gain. Actually, my bad. That's the volume control, you dummy. Let's do this again. Now, there we go. Now it's flat topping. That's the mic gain about 3/4 of the way open. We did go up to about a little over 11 bird and definitely 50 in the corner. Give me a second. I'm going to adjust the mic gain for as close to perfect as possible if I can. And that's about the best I can get it to really look without the negatives looking stupid. You know, still round curves on the negatives. 6 bird, 22 peak. And there you have it. We'll be back. Alright, here's another version of the NPC so-called mod that I've seen roll into my shop. Basically all they've done is, instead of hitting it where Bill Etner wants to hit it at, they've hit it at a different location. That's all I've really changed in here. Now a lot of times they don't use the 330. These guys will jump this to a 50 ohm. The limiter's still clipped in here. Just giving you different variations of how I've seen this kit. And you know what we're getting. We're still about a quarter of the way for the mic to be open for me to get the cleanest signal that I could. We did improve the PEP a little bit to 26, 7 RMS, and it doesn't look too bad on the scope. The negatives are a little bit pinchy to me. I'd rather see them more rounded, but you could get away with that. Now, we'll yank this sucker up to say 1 o'clock. And as you see, it starts flat topping. We will be back with another version. Here's another version of that same kit, but with the glass diode installed. Limiter still clipped. Got it adjusted out so it looks the best on the scope. We actually dropped a little in PEP, which we're down to about, what is that? 18, about 5 RMS. And look at the scope. So that doesn't look bad right there. Not bad at all. We'll be back with the next venture. Alright, we're back with the radio. Limiter's back intact, everything's back intact. I'm kind of done playing around with these garbage NPC mods. So, reference. We're still at our 2. Now look at that. So we're about a good 175%. Positives and negatives look great. 50 in the corner. And look at that. 15.5 bird. Same 50 watt slug. No BS going on here. So that just goes to show you the difference between some of the other stuff that you see out there on the internet and what can really happen. Now, like I said, the limiter, everything's back soldered in, no limiters clipped. It's just the way it should be done. So essentially, you know, if everything's adjusted right, you have a screaming radio that sounds crystal clear on the air. Hope you all enjoyed this informative video. Got any questions, hit me up. Y'all have a super fun one. Stickman at the No Name Amp Shop, and we're gone.